I want to get right into this because I knew you were at the Blues game that night, right?
Yes.
Right. So that's the reason I didn't bother. That's the reason I didn't text you. There never in my whole life have I ever wanted to text you so badly after watching an episode. Like I was like, no, just wait, just
Yeah.
it'll be fine. Because I'm like, man, of all the things we could have guessed and theorized.
So what's funny is I didn't watch it till the next day, and I was like, I have got to text her. Like, we have to talk about this. And then right before I was like, I'm gonna text her, but I already had the Instagram app opened. And I open Instagram, and the first thing I see is you at the theater, and I'm like,
I know. And the thing is, like, it's such a bad time. I shouldn't say bad. I say that, like, if, tongue it, like, not a bad time. It's just like I have another movie tomorrow night, too. Like, I had Sonic. Now, I will say the nice thing about the Sonic 3 screening was that it was at 5 p.m. tonight.
oh, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was
Do
home
that
by
more
like
often.
7:30. I was like, "Phew, do more of these,
Yeah.
please." But yeah,
Yeah.
so like yeah, last
Who
night
could have
movie,
guessed?
tonight movie, tomorrow night movie. So I was like, when I sent the text, I was like, you know what? Let's just get done because there's no way I can wait
Yeah.
until tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah.
And so what we're talking about is the penultimate episode of Dune Prophecy, and it was a doozy.
It was both.
It was a doozy because there were things that I mean, we're going to get into it, but I things that I questioning why they waited until the fifth episode to reveal.
Yes.
But let's go ahead and a breakdown of it was let's see what I can remember now because that was Sunday. Basically, you have Sister Francesca shows up, boom, and lo and behold, she is Constantine's mother.
Yes.
And then it becomes super clear why the Empress is very much kind of F those sisters. It's
I mean,
like,
I get it.
oh, I mean, the minute Francesca and she was like, I mean, like
The
there was
minute
there
she
was
set foot on the property.
yeah, her face was like there was she was not hiding at all
Yeah.
her feelings about that sister
Yeah, neither
and
was the emperor.
right right in front of her. Like I was like, and then when they talked about imprinting, and it was like,
Yeah.
I get it, but like, wow, like that's
Yeah.
like apparently it's like it changes like their DNA like structure. Like it's so deep.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was like listening to like a behind, I did listen to the HBO, the official podcast
Yeah.
afterwards, and they talk about, and it's like, yeah, it's supposed to happen on like a cellular level. Like it changes him completely, that
When she
imprinting.
first showed up, I thought that it was the shape-shifting sister.
Oh,
Like, because they hadn't really mentioned her, and then when they found out, like, oh, the brother sent me, and then you find out the brother hadn't sent her, I'm like,
right,
oh, is this the shapeshifter that is like pretending to be someone? It wasn't, but
right. Yeah, so you have Sister Francesca shows up and kind of lobs a bomb into that whole thing.
yeah,
And you have Desmond who is going out searching for and who has been given the okay to go search for insurgents. Asks Kieran Atreides if he wants to go. Kieran Atreides is like obviously no, but I'm gonna run and go tell um I cannot think of her name, Michaela. Michaela
Michaela,
to
yes,
go like, hey, we've got to prepare for these guys showing up. They blow up the bar. He finds out in the same time that she pulls out that knife, she's fighting off one of the guards that she in fact is a sister. They part ways. I'm kind of glad that they didn't do any kind of like love triangle thingy ish, that they just kind of
yeah,
left it like that.
agreed.
In the meantime, you have Constantine who is flailing about until his mom shows up and he basically says, what was even the purpose of me being born?
Yeah,
And she's like, basically, you were kind of just there to protect your sister, which is kind of like, wow.
yeah.
But then, so, and that's got that going on. You've got um Mother Superior who is kind of still using her nephew cousin at the same
Harrow
time.
Harkonnen, who is, we had discussed, technically he never called out the Emperor because
Right.
he didn't, but
No,
you see in this episode, they
he
still,
grovels. Yeah.
yeah, they still treat it like he did.
Right. He's groveling
Yeah.
terribly to the point where like he's kind of like now working in a way for Desmond, kind
What
of
did
like
Desmond give him? What was that?
I
Was
think
that
it was like a recording device, almost like
okay?
he was bugging him. So when he went to go talk to Most Superior, that he could get something, on tape or recorded that she was planning all this. And then you have Tula at the same time has Sister Jen watch over Lila, and great acting job by the child who does Lila
Phenomenal.
when she
Phenomenal.
yes when she had the spirit of Raquella and her like
She
her voice
embodied
changed.
that.
Yes, her
The way she walked.
mannerisms changed, everything.
Yeah.
Great job. And you find out that she is work, like the fear is the mind killer, where it comes apparently it's like a disease. It's actually a brain killer and it
Yeah.
affects the brain and kind of kills him from then.
This
And
is
at the
really the
end,
Last of Us prequel.
yes. And it ends with the big reveal of when Sister Tula gets the DNA from Desmond, bing bang boom, lo and behold, it's her child.
It's Tula's child.
Yes, it's Tula's child with the Atreides. So we were
Yes.
half right in our
Yes.
theory. We
Yes.
said he was either going to be a robot or he would have Atreides. He was either going to have like no DNA and be like robotic, or he was going to have Atreides DNA. And so like kind of half right.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed about our, at least mine, original theories, and I think yours as well, but I know mine for sure, we anticipated a lot more death in this show.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
I'm watching this, and obviously there was like, all the Atreides got killed in the one episode,
Right.
but a lot of these main characters that I mean, I was very confident in saying that Constantine was quite literally there just to die. Like I thought that was
Right.
his purpose. And
Well,
in a
I
way,
mean,
they
you
did
were
say you're
kind
here to
of
protect
right.
your sister, right? So count
Right.
that one. But yeah, there were just, and then I thought Sister Jen was going to turn on the sisterhood and join Desmond and fight against them, which I mean, technically, I guess she still could. But
Right.
as I watched it, I was thinking back, like at the end of it, I was like, okay, so I just assumed there would be a lot more dead people.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think that was kind of like, yeah, I mean, well, in all fairness, with these HBO Max shows, you're kind
Yeah,
of,
you've
I mean, they
conditioned
kind
me
of,
to believe that nobody is safe and people will be dying.
right. I mean, especially when you fry a kid in the very first episode.
Right, right.
I mean, you
You
kind
got a
of
marriage
like,
proposal, and then this kid is engulfed in flames or from the
along with
inside
a
out.
sister, right?
Yeah.
And there was the whole, was it the episode before, not this one that we're talking about, not five, but was four,
Before
was
when he
they,
killed all those guys,
right.
but I guess I mean main characters
Yes.
because
Major
those people
characters,
that
yes.
they introduced them that episode and then killed them that episode.
Right, exactly. Like, yeah, you're expecting many more. There should be much more at stake. And it feels like there is, and then it's like they almost pull back
Yeah.
at the last second.
Yeah.
So,
My
yeah,
question
like
is,
because
would Desmond have died if he hadn't put his shield on at the last second, very
I
ex
would
machina-ish?
assume
And if that's the case, I would just wear that. I would just have the shield on all the time.
all the
Like
time.
there would never be a day that that thing would not be turned on.
Yeah, like yeah, you kind of like wonder about like the current Dune movies. It's like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't they just
If
be
that if you can survive an explosion with that thing, like if I have the ability to have one of those things, it is staying on all
all
day,
the time?
24/7.
And what I loved is, like the place collapsed around him and everything collapsed ar literally around him. Like nothing
Yes.
fell on him. I thought, well, that's convenient. Like
Right.
that's like you got shielded from the fire with your suit on and then like just all the rubble happened to be
Just yeah.
right on either side of you.
Yes.
Nothing touched you. I thought, well, that works, you know. I mean, like,
Yeah.
let's just have
Like
that
that
happen
part,
all the
like I
time.
knew they couldn't kill him off that way so unceremoniously,
Right.
but I thought the way that he survived it with turning on his shield at the last second and then all of the rubble falling
Yeah.
perfectly around him, I
Little
was like, that's
ham-fisted.
lazy writing.
Yes. Yeah, yes, yeah, because it was because you're just like, oh, like I said, you know, like when he came to again, like when he came to and literally the rocks were around him, I thought, this is what we're doing?
But he was the
Like
only one. Nobody else hit their shield thing in time. Nobody else was able to avoid the rubble. It was just that guy, and I was just like,
just just him.
yeah,
I am a little curious as to I believe the last episode is an hour and a half. I think from what I understand, it's an hour and a half,
it
which
is.
you it would almost have to be because I, you threw again, you didn't open a whole bunch of doors on this last episode, but you do you now are dealing with the fact that Desmond Hart is not like now it's clearly going to be um Tula, and that's going to pit Tula and Valia against each other
Yes.
because I can't imagine that Tula is going to be like, oh yeah, we definitely need to kill my kid. Like
Yeah,
that's
she's not. She's going to be conflicted, um,
right.
and then
Valia's
Volley
going to be
also
mad.
exactly. There's going to be the anger in the whole situation. So I just, and then there's the sisters who will also be. I mean, because there's already a separate faction being created within the current faction, and
For
then
whatever
once the
reason.
rest of the information comes out, which I feel like it has to, there's everyone's going to be pitted against each other, and that's just on that side. And then back with the Carino family, all the drama that they've got going on.
You've got the Empress kissing Desmond
You got the Empress kissing Desmond. You've got Emperor Carino kissing Francesca. I would have
again,
voted.
right?
And then I'm trying to think. Constantine and
Leads the fleet, but I mean, like,
yeah,
who, like, I feel like the conflict on Arrakis at this point is such a. I mean, I get why I get why it's being talked about. I get the part it plays in it, but it feels like such a background story. Like, who
agreed.
cares? Like, if
Yeah,
he's
I
leading a
don't care
fleet,
about that right now. Like, yeah, he gets to control the fleet or on Iraq is like, okay, cool. Like you said, it's important in the future. We see why it's there, but for this very in the moment focused story, I'm really not worried about the Fremen right now.
no, like that's even Michaela came from the Fremen, and she's
Yeah.
even less
And
concerned about.
that's another weird situation. So they blew up everything she built, and you could
Hmm.
see she's kind of like, okay,
She was mad.
she was mad about it, and then Valia and the
Theo,
pupil, Theo?
Theo, Theo's the shapeshifter
Yeah, okay, Theo. They were kind of getting on her because she hesitated, was just like not thrilled. So that's interesting that you're seeing the cracks in the sisterhood and just yeah. With the hour and a half, I'm curious.
because again, now you've introduced that Theodosia Theo can shapeshift, but you gotta so now that's got to be thrown into the last episode because why else would you introduce it?
Just to let us know that it's possible.
But I mean, you're not going to do it if you're not going to use it again,
Agreed.
right? So you've
Because
got
the
to throw
scene that
that.
was used in, I won't say it was unnecessary, but it only was there to let us know that it was possible for later.
Yeah, it's going to be possible. So what I'm saying is like that's exactly right. It's like it has to be used in this last
Yeah.
episode because you didn't
Yeah.
use it in five for any purpose.
Mm-mm.
So you've got to use that in six. You've got him being Tula's son to be, that conflict has got to be resolved in six.
How does Francesca feel about being left out of the loop and all of that?
Again,
Because
like,
she's not there on official sister business, but she is there now in the
right,
middle of the sister business.
right, which basically she showed up. I don't even remember what she shows up. She has no idea about Kasha. I guess she had come to just spend time with her son. I don't know why, after all that time, she decided to. And then, like, she sees everything that's going on and she's like, hold up, let's get my son a position here. He seems to be not doing so great. I I don't know. I don't know the purpose of her. I mean,
Yeah, and I was thinking to myself after I watched the episode and was reflecting, I am trying to not connect it to the bigger I'm trying not to make everything try to connect to the bigger universe because I know
sure,
you and I have talked about that we nerds in general have a tendency to try to connect
sure.
anything that's part of a bigger universe to the bigger universe because that's the way the stories are written. But I'm
Plus,
just like,
that's
okay,
why they're even popular or that they was even
exactly,
created in the first place was because,
exactly. But like
right,
sitting here and I'm like, the more that they talk about how this is 10,000 years before, it's making me feel like they aren't really wanting to connect it to the OG Dune story.
right.
And people like ourselves are trying to connect. How does this connect to this? And how does this connect to Paul Atreides? And they're like, no, 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 no. We said it's 10,000 years before. Stop worrying about that. It's like, but we can't.
Yeah. But the whole reason you made a show was because those movies are so popular.
Right. But then
Like,
there's like the other part of me that's like, but it's okay. I guess I'm like, maybe it's okay to tell a smaller story that doesn't necessarily connect. And but it's like but now I'm trying to accept that.
yeah,
I have an
I
issue with it.
100% because I mean like that's one of the, like we when we talk about Star Wars and stuff like that, we're always like, oh, okay, you don't have to keep using
You don't gotta go back to
Alderaan
Tatooine all
or
the
Tatooine all
time.
the time. Right. But I mean like one of the best, even like the best spin-off type series movies that we've seen, like Rogue One, still played heavily into, the the originals.
For sure.
Mandalorian, still you knew who he was, and it tied, even then it tied stuff into books and other um like the animated shows, and
Yeah.
like you it still pulled, like, so you were like, I don't, to me, like, I feel like this Dune prophecy would be okay if there had been several other Dune related things out there already.
Yeah.
Like, but to me it's like you kind of have the movies, then you start making stuff that's slightly like it can your Easter eggs for the movies, and then you kind of, if you want to start pulling back and further away, like the skeleton crew, skeleton Star Wars skeleton crew and things like that, that's fine. Then that's fine. You can start distancing once you have established and it's out there and you've established there are several other things going on in these universes. Fine, fine, like, oh, okay, because you do start to saturate to the point where you're like, okay, give us something other than Tatooine.
Yeah.
Then you can, but I mean, like right now, it's like, well,
This is all
I
we have.
right, all we have,
And the
all our
fact
frame
that
of
this,
reference is these
yeah.
two movies.
And I think the other issue, I guess, or thing that comes with that is the story that's being told is about the sisterhood
Right,
and that like you can't tell the Dune story without them. Like that's kind of that's the whole thing is the
right.
savior that they have created. So yes, every time Desmond and the sisters are interacting or talking are first thought is, okay, so is this where they come up with, because at this point, as we've seen, there is no mention of Lisan al-Gaib. Like it hasn't
Right,
been brought up, and we're
right,
seeing this story, and I feel like it's not, even if they are trying to separate it, it isn't wrong of us to think, is this what started turning the wheel?
right.
And I am hoping that, honestly, I hope that it does. They at least reference it in this episode because, like you said, we have nothing else to go off of. So you're giving us Dune and its storyline focused on Paul Atreides and what he is or isn't to these people. And then your very next live action uh content is about the sisterhood. So it's like, yeah, you kind of have to make this
And you
about
labeled it Dune Prophecy, and everybody's frame of reference for prophecy is Paul Atreides right now. Like,
exactly.
whether you want it to be or not,
Right.
like, great, yeah, you're right. There's a whole new prophecy going on with the sisterhood, and like born once and died twice. Whatever the prophecy is of the reckoning, that's fine. But most people, when they're like Dune Prophecy, I'm sure most people had tuned in to be like, oh, let's see if they mention something that's Dune, what that relates to Paul
What I
down the
would
road.
hate is if, because like you said, it's Dune Prophecy. Like the
Right.
obvious connection is Paul Atreides. If they come out after and are just like, oh no, we're surprised people connected those dots. It would be on the, or even made that connection. It would be on the same level of bringing in Evan Peters into WandaVision
Right. Making him a
and
boner joke.
and then having him dress as Quicksilver for Halloween
Right.
just to have him be a boner joke. Like if they say, "Oh, people saw Dune Prophecy and thought we were referencing the beginning of the Paul Atreides prophecy," like
Right.
what? We didn't expect that to happen. That's weird. Like because to me, the highest level of disrespect still is what they did with Evan Peters and WandaVision.
Oh yeah.
I
Right.
cannot
And
get
is it
over that.
right? And be like, oh, what? You thought we were gonna do that? Like, oh,
You thought we were going
we
to bring the
never said
mutants in
that.
here with her brother and the X-Men.
I
What?
mean, like, even House of Dragon has been smart enough to they are even in the show they reference A Song of Ice and Fire, even though it's not even mentioned in the book as far as it relating and the king saying this is why I'm picking him as
Yeah.
king, the son as a king or anything like. None of that is mentioned, but even in the show they're smart enough to go, hey, even though this is set 200 300 years before the Game of Thrones that we're still gonna, I mean, yeah, and all the names are there. We're still gonna link it to what your frame of reference is, just, because, we understand that's why the whole reason you're watching this show is because of Game of Thrones.
Exactly.
And it's like the same thing with this show is the whole reason anybody's tuning into this is because you have watched them. I would find it I'm sure there are some people out there that have watched it, that are watching it, that have never seen either one of the Dune movies. I'm sure there are. I'm going to say the vast majority of the people watching it has seen Dune one and two, or one, like,
No doubt.
so it's like you're gonna be like, oh, I mean, like, again, you are using Atreides and Harkonnen and Arrakis and Spice. Great. You are doing that, but you also called it Dune Prophecy. So it's like, is this the only prophecy that we're getting?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see how it ends. I am very curious. I'm curious where the final conflict ends up taking place. Like based off the trailer you got at the end of the last episode, episode 5, it looks like the conflict will be taking place at the Bene Gesserit school,
Right.
or at least partially. So my question is, in this final conflict, who is there? from the other side, how are they getting there? Like, is the Emperor going? Is it just Desmond? Is it
A
Tyrion
whole
Atreides because he's
right,
still alive? Does Princess Inez go? Because I'm pretty sure she still wants to go, but
right.
that's all up in the air right now.
She
Uh,
clearly looks like she's wanting to free. She went in and she questioned Atreides, and it clearly looks like the implication is that she's going to free him.
yeah. Also, when did she start? She hasn't been to the academy yet, but she can
Was
do.
already doing truths, yeah.
Yeah, kind of just yeah, yeah.
Unless she had been taught by Kasha, and but that's never been said or
Satellite
implied.
learning. It was
Continuing ed classes online,
yeah.
and yeah, like she it's
When
yeah,
she
because she
did
had
that,
never
I was like,
attended.
hold up.
Told you like now we're just doing it.
Yeah, it's just yeah. I mean, I guess her mother and Kasha maybe could have, but it's like I don't
Well, her
know.
mother definitely wasn't because it doesn't seem like she wants anything to do with the
That's
sisterhood.
true. That's true. But yeah,
But
so I guess my question is, Lila's there.
yep.
The old lady, like I thought she was getting her throat slashed
Whew,
because she is questioning Tula repeatedly. And as we've established, Tula is actually the evil one. I mean, I think
sure.
they're both evil, but Tula like has no problem just
Killing and or bringing back somebody, like
yeah.
that's
So when that old lady kept questioning her, I'm like, you were playing a
ma'am, you're on
dangerous
borrowed
game with
time.
this woman. You were on thin ice.
Yes. You are on borrowed time.
Yeah.
So it's like I still like I don't understand why you would I mean, again, there are a lot of things that they're going to have to cover or use or reference again in six. Obviously, like I said, Desmond being her son obviously is going to be the huge thing.
Yeah.
Valia finding out that she in fact did have an Atreides baby is going to be a huge thing. I'm guessing that like those two houses are such powerful houses that the combination of their bloodline is some create some sort of mysticism
I
because
have a very, I won't say weak, but not fully thought out theory of what happens. I can save that for later. But
go
all
ahead.
right. So my theory is the everyone comes together. How they get back to the academy because everyone's all in different places right now.
Sure.
It happens. Tulia and Valia have their moment
Hmm.
where she finds out like, yeah, you took down a whole Atreides clan, awesome, but you also had a baby with one of them and you raised it and let it go and whatever. Tula is now conflicted. I think after Valia can't stand Desmond, doesn't care. It's his
Right.
auntie. She don't care. Uh, but I think they have their moment, and I think since it's been established that Tula is the actual psychotic one, I think she kills Valia. I don't know if she uses the voice on her. I don't know if she instructs Lila or Sister Jen. I think she offs her the way that she killed Mother, uh, was it
Dorothea.
Gratella? Ganatea? Yeah. I think
Dorothea,
she
yeah.
does the same thing to her. And I think Tula then takes over the school and kind of switches up the curriculum. And now that she has seen how powerful a guy can be in this role and doing all this, I think she's the one that starts the prophecy of the one. I think Desmond ends up dying, not sure how, but I think
Shapeshifter.
yeah, possibly. But I
Think
think
she
as he's dying, Tula gets an idea like, okay, you were the prototype of
Paul.
Paul.
Yeah, somebody that we yeah, we need a Harkonnen slash Atreides to rule the Imperium because
Yes.
that's the true power lies in that specific bloodline.
Yes.
I mean, it's like you've got and you still have I mean like are they ever going to come back to is Lila is the possession gone? Did Raquel say everything she needed
I
to
mean, they
say
have
and
her
purged
strapped
it?
to the bed, so they don't think it is.
So it's like do they are they worried that Dorothea is coming back?
And that's the thing. I think they are. And do you let her go back to the school? I mean, the old lady, I forget her name, but she saw Lila, so she knows
Yeah.
she's alive. Um, I assume she tells the students, like, you know what? I lied, sue me, but I saved her. So
Right.
you're welcome, actually, is the way
But I mean,
she's
isn't
gonna
it
spin it.
crazy to be like to introduce even just the storyline of the sisterhood division again of the it was
Of the new one, yes.
Emmeline
Because
and Jen. I mean,
yeah.
like you've got that has to be that has to be cleared up.
And that's the thing. I don't know. I wonder if do they split and because they're not going to have two sisterhoods because only one prevails.
Right, only one prevails. But it's like you've got to deal with the possession, you've got to deal with the sisterhood split, you've got to deal with the shape shifting, you have to deal with, I mean, obviously it's going to be the Valia versus her sister. You got to deal with the House Harkonnen. Like, what's his purpose? Does he even have a purpose anymore? The cousin,
Yeah.
like, is he done? Like, is
I mean,
his
he's in
role
charge of the house now because Baratheon's dead.
right?
But I
But I mean,
mean, the
like,
only
is
way he
his
gets back in the good graces is if he betrays them, and it looks like everybody is skedaddling back to the academy. So like he doesn't have time to turn her
right?
in because we're
Like,
already at the final episode, and I feel like this entire episode, like Desmond doesn't have time to be doing anything else.
what? Which again, why then introduce? Why have? Is the kiss between him and the Empress just showing like, hey, we have the sisterhood hatred connection? If not, then why? I mean, like you've got Atreides and Yanez. Like you gotta. What are you gonna do with those two?
Is Francesca using her influence to get the Emperor to turn his back on Desmond, which I don't think is possible because the Emperor is leaned way too far into it at this point.
Right.
But
Like, what's her
obviously,
purpose now? Like, she got her
exactly.
son the job, so
Yeah.
what is she? That's another. Like,
One for
that's
the road before she heads back.
like, does Constantine play
That's the thing. I feel like his story might be done. Like they
done?
just sent him off to Arrakis to handle the fleet, and it's just like, yeah, we're done with you.
So it's like you've got about nine storylines that you've
Yeah.
got to.
And this episode airs on Sunday. And I'm
Mhm.
annoyed because I'm not annoyed, but it's just it is what it is with the holidays. I'm driving to Atlanta on Sunday morning to see my family, and I was like, I want to get there. Like, hey, good to see you guys. Gotta step away. Hour and a half.
Right,
Nobody talked to me.
right. Yeah, I think. Oh, I think I'm on a radio show at either at 9 o'clock or at 10 o'clock that night. So like, yeah, that's the
I
same.
don't. Are they banking on a second? This is a limited series. There is no second season.
No, there's been no talk.
I don't, like you said,
It's a
just
lot.
going off the top of our head, those nine.
Nine, nine. That's, I mean, if it's an hour and a half, that's, I mean, I'm not, by no means am I saying they need to devote 10 minutes to each of these, but like that's nine. Because I've got Emmeline versus Jen, which is basically a sisterhood fraction. Possession, shapeshifting, Valia versus Tula, House Harkonnen, that one just might be done. So that one, okay. The Empress and Desmond, again, was that just as a like a was that just an informal handshake?
Right? That's how you seal the deal.
Right? Atreides and Yanez, Francesca and Constantine. It's like that's not. I mean, like
Yeah,
again, Constant. You could probably take Constantine out and maybe House Harkonnen.
because I think that's what they did. Because I mean, maybe they are just sending people off. Like Arrakis is just the we're done with your storyline. Because Michaela, like, she did
Right,
all of that, and as far as like, I feel like we've seen the last of her. Like, I don't see
right.
her
So, but
story.
okay, even then you've got seven.
Yeah.
You've got seven that you've got to like. Again, I mean, the possession doesn't take much. Um, you can have Theo just become the Empress and literally backstab Desmond. Like he believes her, he thinks it's her. She swoops in as the Empress and, either captures them, has them kill, is that, you know, the thing that kills. That seems like a lame way to kill him,
It does. And
but
like that's the thing. Like why would
then
she,
what are you having your shapeshift into?
that's the thing. Like I feel like
You introduce that for a specific, for her to be shapeshifting into somebody major.
mhm.
Not it can't. She's not going to be
Because the
shapeshifting
scene that
into.
it was used in, I don't want to say was pointless, but Valia being conflicted and not knowing what to do, blah blah blah, and just wanting to talk to her brother. Using the shape shifting for that was if it was just for that, to me that's weak and a waste of time.
Oh yeah, to just shapeshift to be like, for Theo to be like, I get it. Like you
Yeah.
could have that could have been handled in a conversation. We didn't need again. So the
Right.
shapeshifting is going to be a specific person for and something major. It's not going
Are
to
they
be
using
just
the shape shifting to betray the emperor, to make it look like Desmond is betraying the emperor? Or
right, right, right. So yeah,
back to once again for the umpteenth time. I hope the show can stick the landing with the finale. The amount of times I've said that this year is not even just this year. I've said it like a million times on this podcast. Just shows don't know how to finale a show. And the Penguin, they nailed it. And I didn't necessarily have any doubts, but I did just because of TV shows in general.
right.
This one, I have reasons to doubt. The amount of storylines, the lack of episodes, because I mean, six is on the short end for a limited series. We were used to eight,
We're used
10,
to 10, and
yeah,
then like 8
10,
would be like, "Ooh, you're rushing it. You're putting out
yeah,
8." And now it's like 6 and you're like,
six. Yeah, I don't,
and
I am worried.
you're taking on a lot
Yeah.
in this show. And again,
And I
with
guess the 10th one is because you wrote down like the nine doors they need to close. The 10th one, which is what we kind of just talked about, it somehow needs to connect to Paul Atreides, or at
if
least the
it
current Dune landscape.
or yeah, because again, like you said, if they're just like, and this is the only prophecy we're talking about, like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Why would you do that?
Because like you should have titled it then Dune a prophecy, not the not
Right.
just Dune prophecy,
Dune,
just
one
Dune
of the
a prophecy. Like
prophecies.
we make a lot of them. Like
Yeah.
we we make a lot of theory. It's the the it was the in Harry Potter, the one that did the prophecy, and that Professor
Oh, yeah,
Trelawney or whatever. It's like she's there and she makes a whole bunch of prophecies, but like two of them are the only ones that are like really matter. So it's like, is this like what are they? Well, the sisterhood makes a lot of prophecies, and like a couple of them have come true. Like
right.
that's yeah. I mean, because again, they're gonna have to talk to. There's gonna have to be a conversation with Desmond, really, as far as like, unless they just don't ever plan on,
You don't make him a Harkonnen and an Atreides and then be like, oh, that was a coincidence. That has nothing to do with Paul.
and like you're gonna have to find out about his death and reemer his rebirth on
That's
Erectus, because I
true.
mean, like you're
So
just
far, we're kind of just going off what he said and what we saw. But even that is like no context. He was in the desert. The thing swallowed him. It rebirthed him and gave him powers. And we have nothing else to go off of.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like
You
it's
gave us
you're
the
gonna have to
flashback episode of Tulian Valia. We needed a flashback episode for him.
yeah, yeah, right. You're gonna need an explanation. You're gonna need to explain where do his did his powers come from, this rebirth from the Shia, or is it due to the bloodline? Those bloodlines coming together are you know, that is the true, that's where the true power comes from, is maybe that, like the whole reason that they're kind of kept apart, like yeah, I hate to like bring this and be so dorky, but like in Marvel, like you can't have two, and I forgot like this is really bad, but it's like Immortus, I believe, kind of keeps Vision Vision, and like he does the whole time travel to basically kind of the whole purpose is to keep them apart, because if they have a child together, their child becomes, what's the one kind of where they're the high level, it's not omega level, but I can't think of what
Oh,
the
so not superior.
do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Right. And
yeah,
I can't think of what it's called, but
that's gonna bug me.
it's right. I know I'm completely blanking on. But I mean, it's like that. It's like where that's like there's certain, they keep certain people, the whole thing is to keep certain people away, because if they have children together, and I hate to use the word breed, but if they breed, then they breed something powerful that then disrupts timelines and
Exactly.
multiverses and stuff like that. So in the same way, is that the reason the conflict is ongoing, is because if in fact those two bloodlines do come together, something cataclysmic like Desmond and or Paul happens.
Yeah. One thing that I saw that we all saw that watched the show that they have referenced and shown the origins of, but haven't really dove into how it gets mass produced is the voice.
Yeah.
You have them use it in the first flashback and the first episode where Valia kills the woman at
Hmm.
the beginning, and then you go back to when she used it on her family to save her brother, but then again with her mother and uncle. So you're
Right.
seeing the origins of it, but you're also seeing that it hasn't been taught at the school yet. But the
No.
fact that you keep referencing it and showing it, it's like,
Right.
okay, I thought at some point that was going to be like introduced to the students and be like, oh yeah, here's this thing we've been workshopping in secret for the last like 50 years.
Right.
And it's
If
kind
you
of one of
happen to
those,
get scared, here's a way to,
right?
right, like here's a way to get away, to get back control over the situation that might have you spiraling.
Yeah, yeah. I, I don't know.
It's a lot. It's a lot, but we shall see next week, and
Yep.
um, find out, you know, if they can actually get this to go. I again, maybe in an hour and a half they could do. I in all honesty, to be fair, I was surprised about how much they packed into this last episode.
Agreed.
So
I'll give him that.
so if having an episode that goes even longer or
They
is
have been
twice,
moving quickly. I mean,
yeah, that
we've been saying that.
they chop through storyline. I mean, they do that. So I maybe they'll do it, and we'll be back on here saying. I mean, some of these, so like I said, some of our theories have come true. We knew Lila was going to be possessed. Um, and we have a we'll cover every town. I've got them all written down, and we'll see exactly how
Yes.
many of these we got right and how many how many we got wrong. I mean, yeah, it's we like I said, I had written down no DNA or Atreides DNA or Harkonnen DNA for Desmond. I wrote that down from last week.
Yes.
So
That
we
one was a
did.
good one. That one honestly was a good one because
That was the one when it happened. I was like, oh my God, I just
yes.
wanted to grab my phone. And I was like, I
Yes.
know he's at the, so like, you need to watch this right now.
I that one no when they because it was like the music was building up and you knew it was
Mhm.
getting near the end of the episode. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, is this an android? What's it gonna be? Is it an Atreides? Because for a minute I was like, maybe he's gonna be an Atreides and he doesn't even know it.
Right.
But then yeah, when they said that, I was like, yeah, there we go. There we go. I was going to text you, and then that's when I grabbed my phone and I saw you were at the theater, and I was like, well, let me just go ahead and put that back in my pocket.
I gotta wait on that for a little bit. So we're gonna end there, but yeah, we're excited to see where it goes. We're gonna see how many of these they clear up. We're gonna see how many of our theories stuck. If anybody actually ever dies, we assume that the at this point the real somebody I feel like Desmond has to die.
Desmond has to die, and I think Tula dies. No, I think Valia
Probably
dies,
dies.
and I think Tula is the one that does it, and I think that is because they have established she's the real
She's
gangsta in the family. Like
it's true.
we saw that firsthand, or we didn't
Yes.
see it,
Yes,
but
she's our Arya Stark, yes,
yes,
for sure.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think to
So,
protect her son that she now suddenly cares about,
right?
like she's gonna find out he's alive, Valia's gonna come back and be like, nope, I tried to use the voice on him, it didn't work. We gotta kill him. And then Tula's like, well, let's just slow down for a minute.
I kept him hidden because I know you'd kill him,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So we're
Yep.
gonna see. We're gonna cover, obviously, we'll give you the recap and then we're gonna cover our theories and what ended up panning out, what we think they did right, what we think they did wrong, and we'll go from there. And then holidays happen and then NFL playoffs.
Yes. We are coming up quickly. I think we've got one more episode if we time it right to our 1 year of our show, which
Yes.
goes back to you texting me. I
Yes.
think it was November and was like,
Hey, let's
we have to
start
do a
talking.
podcast in 2024.
We did
And
it.
immediately I was like, yes, I'm all in.
Right.
Because I had
Yeah.
been like workshopping one in my head for years and I could not find anyone that was like committed to the cause.
And
So
we've done like 40 or 41 episodes.
we have. So honestly, thank you for sending that text because I like truly, I had been like, man, I would love to do a podcast and just talk about this. And I am so glad that you were like, send the text.
Yes.
Like, I am
Let's do
so
this.
happy.
Let's do this and let's watch all the shows and let's
Yes.
talk about all the stuff that we
Because it was like you
wouldn't.
said, we were pretty much having a podcast episode every time we texted about
Yeah.
this stuff.
Every time we watched a show, it was like, are you watching this? Did you watch
Yeah,
this episode? Hurry up and to watch this episode and tell me what
exactly.
you
And
thought
it's not
about
even
it.
the shows, it was even just the news in general. Because like the RDJ coming back,
Oh yeah.
like that would have been, I mean, we did text about that one. That was one of the times this year because we've done a
Hmm.
pretty good job of like keeping our
Keeping it all
convos for
right,
the
keeping it
podcast.
all right.
That was one thing where we were like texting back and forth
Oh
before
yeah.
we even started
Oh yeah, like
podcasting.
people don't know. Like every time a trailer would hit, we were like on our phones like
Yes.
constantly. Yes. So
Yes.
we had talked about everything all the time. We text during football. We even texted even though our teams played each other last week.
Yes.
We there's no animosity. We just I
No.
basically told him, watch the Steelers are going to lose this game. That there was
I
that
was
was just
worried. I was
no.
like at the hockey game and like I'm like we're like in the middle of a power play and I'm just like I don't know what we're doing. It's just we're
I
just
basically told you you could put your phone away, that there was no way that we were winning that game. So,
I was
yes.
worried for a minute, but yeah, it
But
was
yeah, we are coming up almost on a full year. And like I said, we've done
yes.
about, I think we're at either 40, this will either be 41 or 42. So yeah, we have plugged on. We have done almost one every week. It's, yeah, yeah,
That's
we
a lot
have
of content
a
consumed.
lot of content.
That is
And
a
there's more
lot.
to come because February is Captain America, I think February, and then March is
Yes.
Daredevil, I think. So it's like I said, we've got NFL, we've got NFL to talk about, and then we've
Are we
got
getting season two of X-Men 97 right away, hopefully, or do we need to wait longer?
I don't know.
I don't know how long that animation takes. I would
Oh, I
like to
don't know.
believe
That might
we
be a little bit longer.
that's what I'm worried about. Plus, because I know like they already had season two close to done, or they had already started writing season two,
You're right.
but I don't know.
Mhm.
But yeah,
We'll cover
no.
things that were our highlights and lowlights of
Yes.
2024. We will cover things we're looking forward to in 2025, much like how our very first episode went.
Yes.
So yeah, but we got a lot of stuff coming up here. So next week, mm, I'm telling you, this episode's got to be something.
I'm bringing.
But
I'm gonna have a notebook with me. I'm just gonna be scribbling away during this finale.
furiously. And on that note, we will see you all later.